Everybody, happy day before Thanksgiving, and I hope that everybody has plans to spend good time with their family, their friends, and really do what the day is meant to be. Just enjoy that time with family and friends and the blessings that we all have in this life today. So, I want to talk today about all of this insulin resistance stuff. I always want to talk about it because it's affecting so many people. And because it's affecting so many people, it's most likely affecting someone you know, if not you. And you may not understand it. You may not understand why you're feeling sick, why no one's able to help you, all of those things. I want to go over it so you have a simple answer as to why we're all getting sick and having problems with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, because no, it's not about the fats you eat. I've been painting, by the way, so my knuckles are all black and green. Anyway, high blood pressure, diabetes, prediabetes, insulin resistance, it's all the same thing. When we're losing 50,000 people a day to heart disease, and that's very highly linked to this thing called insulin resistance, I think it's important to talk about. So I want to talk about it. We're going to talk about what insulin resistance is, why it's happening to us. I'm going to tell you how that you can help get over the insulin resistance and become more insulin sensitive, what all that is, what metabolic health really is. And we're going to just dive in. And then I want to answer questions because you see this whole list of things up above. So all of these things are linked to insulin resistance. If you see yourself in those, type it out in the comments below. Let me know what you need me to go over and explain why, and we can do that. Just I want you guys to understand what's happening so you can understand that things like medications are not your best course of action. When we're talking insulin resistance, I want you to remember one thing before I dive in. Insulin resistance is all about the food that we're eating and how it converts in our body. So if a medication is not addressing that nutritional problem, then the medication is not really solving your problem. The medication is masking symptoms, but it's not solving your problem. So let's stop with the medication madness. No more stabbing yourself in the belly with some injection or taking a fistful of pills that are causing more damage in your body. Now, I'm saying that with also saying that I want you to work with your doctor. I'm not trying to supersede what your doctor says. I want you to open your mind to other possibilities, and that's what we're here about. Okay, so insulin resistance, I already said it has to do with the food we eat and how often we eat and all of that. So let's take a little step back and see what insulin resistance is. Or would you guys rather, which one do you want me to do first? Do you want me to talk about some of these things and why insulin resistance is causing it, and then talk about what insulin resistance is? If you want me to talk about problems first, type a 1 in. If you want me to talk about what insulin resistance is first, I want to do what you guys need today. So do you want to hear about how all of these things are linked first, or do you want to hear what this whole thing about insulin resistance really is first? 1, if you want to hear the problems. 2, if you want to hear about what insulin resistance is. I need my tea this morning. Does anybody have a preference? If not, well, let's start with high blood pressure because that's affecting 22222. Okay, Sposter, I'm going to listen to you. We're going to talk about what insulin resistance is, what's happening to us. Why are we all of a sudden hearing about insulin resistance when our parents, our grandparents didn't hear about it? I've been painting. Um, let's talk about that. Our food has been drastically changed. If you agree that our food has been drastically changed, type a 1 in the chat box. But if you know, that our food is not the same as it was 50 years ago, 80 years ago, and that is probably the root of most of our problems, let's talk about that. So a number of things, thank you everybody. A number of things have been happening, right? So does anybody remember Ansel Keys, the guy who said, fat's killing you, fat's bad for you? Does anybody remember when all that happened? Because we weren't having an insulin resistance problem before Ansel Keys stood up and said, fat's bad for you. And so I'm going to go way back for a second, and then we're going to lead right into how this insulin, I think this is important. For me, it's important to understand how we got here so we can understand how we need to fix it, okay? So when the food industry and the medical industry started grabbing onto this thing that fat is bad, well, fat flavors our food. Fat is what gives our that taste that we so desire. And when they started stripping fat out, now foods were tasteless and they weren't satisfying, and people were complaining, and the food industry jumps right on it, and they're like, well, what are we going to do to flavor the food if we can't use fat, because fat's a demon now. Ansel Keys made it sure that we can't sell food with fats in it. So they started adding more sugars to your food, because you're either flavoring, I mean, some people use spices. I'm not going to say that, but most people are either getting flavor from fat they're adding to their food, or from sugar they're adding to their food. So this was a great boon for the food industry. By the way, fats are unstable when they're trying to pack foods full of fats, but sugars stay stable for a long time, and they create this system in your body where you start craving more of it. So for the food industry, this was a great thing. Now, we take out the fats. The fats satiate you. They're not killing you. They're not making you fatter. They're not making you have high cholesterol. But we're going to roll with that, the industry says. And so they start adding sugar in. Now you're starting to get addicted to the food. You're starting to need more and more and more of it. That's a great thing for them, because they're selling that food. So now your foods are packed with sugar and less fat. But now we have another problem. So, in order to get even our raw organic foods tasting sweeter and sweeter, they had to pump up the sugars in the foods. They had to pump up the starches in the foods, and that's genetically modifying our food. And we all know, I'm not here to debate it, we all know that our foods have been genetically modified. Look, when you used to find peaches that were no bigger than this, and now you go to the grocery store and they're as big as this. There's some modification been happening to those peaches, right? Raspberries. I went to our family farm up in North Idaho last year, Montana, and the raspberries were the biggest ones. The very biggest ones were no bigger than the tip of my pinky, and yet when I go buy raspberries at the store, they're as big as the tip of my thumb. So how did they go from this tiny thing to this thing? Genetic modification. So how do they do that? How do they get it to taste sweeter? Well, they have to strip fiber out. Fiber is bitter. Fiber is chewy. Fiber is hard to digest. Fiber doesn't go down as easy, but it's necessary. If you look in nature, the only thing that's not protected by fiber that's really a high carbohydrate food is honey. Every other carbohydrate in nature is protected by fiber, but fiber fills you up. Fiber doesn't make you want to eat more. Fiber makes the foods taste a little bitter, and they're trying to make the foods taste better. So now we have foods that are high in sugar, low in fiber. So now these foods that are high in sugar, low in fiber, part of the thing that fiber does is it slows down the conversion of those sugars into energy in your body, so that it's not hitting your bloodstream like an IV. What's happening with the food now is it's got that fiber gone, we've stripped out the fats, and we've pumped it full of starches and sugars. And so now that's delivering to our bloodstream far, and it's making us sick. Because remember, I wish I Rap has sugar cubes. Maybe I have to go buy some sugar cubes, but there should be only about 1 teaspoon of sugar in your bloodstream. Any more than that and your body starts having problems. One doctor explained it to me that I worked for, said like that excess sugar in your bloodstream is like glass shards in your blood veins. It starts tearing things up. So think about that. Too much sugar in your blood is like having little glass shards running through your blood veins. So, but yet the food industry is giving us full of sugar, and they're so tricky. They'll say high fiber, and it only has to be a percentage higher than the other foods around it to be considered high fiber, even though it's not high fiber. They can call it low sugar, even though it's not really low sugar. It's just lower than the foods that are similar to it. They can call it low fat because of whatever, on and on and on and on and on. You guys watch the labels. High protein foods are often, the boxed bagged ones are often high in sugar or high in carbohydrates as well. We're going to talk about all of this stuff, and I hope if you guys need me to pause and re-explain something, because I know I go through things too fast sometimes, let me know. I would love to stop. I want you to understand all of this, but I know that we have to like put the pieces together. You can't build a puzzle with 50 out of 1,000 pieces. So I'm not going to give you 1,000 pieces today, but we're not going to build that puzzle with only a few pieces. Okay, so we know that we're getting food that's converting to sugar too quickly. Even our raw organic food has been changed and it's converting to sugar too quickly. This is, Nate, I will answer this in just a minute. This actually leads into that. I'm going to address this, why you're struggling to lose weight, and it's going to start to be clear in just a few minutes. So hang on a second, okay? So the other thing that they've done to us, how many of you guys have been told to eat every 2 hours to boost your metabolism? And since it's a 2, just type a 2 in there. If you've been told or you've heard that the best way to address your weight, to lose weight, to get your metabolism up, to do all of that, is to eat every 2 hours. Has anybody heard that? Type a 2 in if you've heard that. And I want to discuss it, okay? And how many of you guys believe that? Eating every 2 hours boosts your metabolism. Type a 1 in if you believe that eating every 2 hours, and there's no judgment, I'm just educating. If you believe that eating every 2 hours is actually boosting your metabolism and is the way to lose weight and the way to get your health back, type a 1 in, because I know that's like prominent out there. Everybody's saying eat every 2 hours, and look, I did it. I did it too. I did it too. So here's the thing. When we're eating every 2 hours, we're spiking our insulin every time we eat. So I realize now I've skipped a step. So when we eat and that sugar converts into our system, when we have more than that teaspoon of sugar in our system, our body cues the pancreas, an organ down here, that creates this hormone called insulin. And insulin's job is to carry the sugar or the energy to the cells of the body. So insulin is a transport hormone. We're going to think about insulin in a number of ways this morning. So it's a transport. So think of a tanker truck. It's carrying the sugar. It's really not the insulin, it's the sugar that's the problem, but the sugar is causing the high insulin. So when we have too much sugar, we have insulin that's trying to get that sugar out to the cells of the body. And every cell in the body, every cell needs energy. So insulin's knocking on every door, whether it's the little 1-bedroom house or the big tall skyscraper in the city inside your body. Insulin is carrying that energy saying, hey, do you need some? Hey, do you need some? Hey, do you need some? I got energy, take it. And the cells at first are like, oh yeah, I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it. But pretty soon we have so much sugar or energy to be delivered, and insulin is making its rounds so often that the cells stop responding. When we're eating, we're converting sugar, which means we're converting insulin in the body. So insulin is meant to be up for a while and then come down. But when we eat every 2 hours, we never allow that insulin level to come down. And that's going to be clear why that's important in just a second. So eating every 2 hours is constantly spiking your insulin. Insulin is only 1/2 of your metabolic picture. There's another hormone called glucagon. So let's talk about these two hormones in a different way. First of all, I want you to understand that in everything that we have, there's a light and a dark, and I'm not going to call either one light or dark, but you know what I mean. There's a balance. There's two sides to everything, every single thing in life. There's a balance. Well, insulin is a saver. It's an anabolic hormone. It wants to save things. It wants things to grow, okay? Glucagon is catabolic, or it's a spender. It wants to eat things up. So if you're trying to lose weight, you have to have glucagon out because that's what's going to eat up the excess weight. As long as insulin's out, insulin says, oh no, no, you don't. You're not going to take this away that I stored so efficiently, and you're not going to destroy the work I did. You have to get insulin down, okay? So how are we going to do that? And why is all of this so important? Let's go back to the pancreas really quick. When the pancreas is producing this insulin, every time we eat, insulin, everything in your body starts to get trained by what you do. You train your body to do what it does. We all have to take some accountability, okay? There's the food industry that's that's not helping us. But then we have to take accountability and understand that we train our body to do what it does, to understand how it does. If you're out working out every day, your body's trained to go in and deal with those workouts. If you're not working out and you go work out, your body's like, "Ooh, what's this?" So insulin, you're training your insulin to be high every time you eat and every time you put the sugars in. Well, when the insulin gets trained to be high all the time and you're eating every 2 hours, this is what a cycle should look like. You should eat, your sugars should go up slowly, slowly, slowly. Energy, insulin comes up, grabs it, delivers it, and then everything drops back down. When we're eating every 2 hours and when we're eating imperfect food, what happens is that sugar level here goes like this, and it goes like this really quickly because the fibers have been stripped out that slow it down. Now insulin comes up this high instead of this high, and when it's here, it takes longer to come down because now it's on high alert. So now it delivers that. Maybe you have a energy drop. Maybe you have a blood sugar drop right after you eat. This is why, because you've trained your body. Now you're putting sugar in, insulin comes out, gets rid of that sugar because it knows you're going to eat every 2 hours and you're going to have more put into the body. And so insulin's staying out here like a good soldier, like, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to stay out here. And you cannot get that down every time you eat every 2 hours. Clue, we're going to talk about this in a minute. Morning, Melba. It takes about 8 hours after you eat for that insulin level to come down. So if you're eating every 2 hours and then you're having like a midnight snack and then you wake up and you have a high carb breakfast, what are you doing? You're never allowing this guy out here who wants to eat up the fat, who wants to take away all the cells that are dead and dying, wants to get rid of all of this stuff, who wants to clean your house. He can never go out and do his job because insulin's here. So now we're going to talk about insulin like a hoarder because that's what's happening. Every time insulin is delivering this sugar and the cells become resistant, insulin is hoarding that energy, right? It's like, I got a job to do. I'm protecting this body. I'm going to keep energy. But now the cells are saying, you've come around too much. I don't want you anymore. So they start shutting down. They no longer open the door to insulin. They can't get the energy in even if they need it because they're so annoyed at insulin for knocking on their door all the time. So insulin's like, ooh, this person's going to eat again. My blood sugar is going to go up again. I'm gonna have more work to do. I got to get rid of this. I got to get rid of this energy and I got to get rid of it now. So where's it going to go? It's going to take it to the warehouse or the storage unit. Do you guys know what the storage unit in your body is? What the warehouse is? And Nape, I'll talk about cortisol in a second, okay? Just remind me. So the storage unit in your body is your fat cells. When the other cells of the body won't take insulin up or the energy, it starts putting it in your fat cells. So is it that you get heavy and then you get insulin resistant? No. You're insulin resistant in order for you to start storing that excess amount of fat in the first place. We all need some fat. It's good for our brains. It's good for a number of, it's good for a number of things in our body, but in excess amounts, it's not good. So insulin now becomes a fat storing hormone because it can't get the energy into the cells. So now you're putting on weight, you're putting on weight, you're putting on weight. When the fat cells or this warehouse is like, oh, I'm full, I can't get any more in here or my doors won't close. Now the sugar has no place else to go. It goes right back out in your bloodstream. Now your blood sugar is going up. Now your A1C is going up. Now you're having cholesterol problems, and I'll explain why. Cholesterol is linked to the sugar in just a little bit. But all of that happens first. So you've been insulin resistant for a long time if you're putting on weight. If your blood sugars are starting to go up, it means you've been insulin resistant for a long time. We're going to go over the solution in a little bit, but this needs to make sense or you won't understand the solution, okay? So I do advocate for intermittent fasting, and remind me, Bronwyn, in just a minute, and we'll talk about what breakfast should look like and when. And it's different for everybody, you guys. I want this to be sustainable for you all. So, okay, so there's all of that going on. Now we understand that eating every 2 hours isn't helping us, that the food that we have is imperfect, that we're creating too much energy in the body, and we're creating too much insulin in the body, and now we're storing fat, and then our blood sugars go up. But we're storing energy, but I feel tired all the time and I feel hungry all the time. And why is that then, Misha? Why am I hungry and tired if there's this excess of energy? Okay, so hunger really is a cue that your body needs energy. Hunger is an energy cue. Body, brain, whatever is saying, I need energy. Okay. If the cells in the body aren't taking up the energy that's available, they're going to continue to be hungry. And you're going to continue to get cues that you need energy, even though you've put loads in, because there's this misfunction in your body because insulin is being resisted and it can't deliver the energy. You already have too much, but the body's not getting it, so it's staying hungry. Now you have constant cravings. Now you're hungry even after you just ate because the cells are not getting the energy they need. That's what's really happening to you, okay? So remember at the beginning, I talked about fiber and how fiber had been out in order to get our food to taste better, to be more delectable and delicious and digestible. So the fiber was there protecting the sugar from going too high in our system. What fiber does, there's a number of actions for fiber. So we need to understand this first. Every fiber in every food has a different action in your body. I'm focused on the ones that keep the sugar low and slow. Low and slow is the way to go, okay? So there are certain fibers that help keep those blood sugars low so they're not just like bum rushing your blood veins and causing all this havoc, right? It's like, um, do I want to say teenagers or 3-year-olds or cats in a bag? I don't know. Yeah, it's like a bunch of hyper teenagers on homecoming weekend and they're held outside the doors and all of a sudden they're let in. It's just like havoc happens. That's kind of what's happening with all this blood sugar in our system. And because fiber has been removed. So now all of the sugar is hitting and it's causing problems. Fiber, you're going to remember this. We're going to talk about the solutions in a minute. Fiber is key to keeping your blood sugars down, but not just any type of fiber. Okay, so there was a couple of questions I want to address really quick. We're going to dive into some of these answers. So now we know why it's happening, but one more thing I want to say is 93% of us are failing metabolically. If we had a school that had 93% failure rate in its kids, would you go to the kids and say, you're a bum. You're not trying hard enough. If you just tried harder, if you just did better, if you just did whatever, your grades would go up, you'd be doing better. Because 93% of the other kids are failing too. We would never do that to our kids. We'd go to the school and be like, hey, what's up? Why are all these kids failing? And yet with our health, with our metabolisms, that's exactly what we're doing. 93% of us are failing. In 2018, only 80 of us. By 2022, that number had risen to 93%, and it's probably even higher today. So that all leads back to this food thing, right? So we need to address the food. It's not medications. Medications is not going to fix the fiber that's stripped out, the phytonutrients that's stripped out, all the other good things that we need. Those are not giving that back to you. They're not fixing this. They're masking a symptom. Okay, so cortisol, when you have insulin resistance, a number of things you'll find as we talk. Insulin resistance increases some other hormones and instances increase the insulin. I call it a negative feedback loop at this point. So now when you have insulin resistance, when you have high level of insulin, it's cueing the body to be in fight or flight mode all the time. Slightly, not like a tiger is chasing me, but slightly. Oop, got to be ready to go. So anxiety, racing heart, cortisol is up. Can't sleep, cortisol is up. Okay. Insulin is creating this system in your body where your cortisol is a little higher. On the other side, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're in high stress situations, sugars are the biggest cause of insulin resistance. But I want to tell you something that maybe you're not hearing from everybody else. Trauma can lead you to be more likely to be insulin resistant. So I'm not talking just about like I had head trauma at 15. I'm not talking about those things. It can be surgeries, it can be traumas, it can be a broken leg, it can be any of that stuff. But emotional trauma can cue your body to be in this high state of fight or flight all the time, which then, as a result, also increases your insulin resistance in your body. So insulin resistance can increase cortisol. Cortisol, high levels of cortisol, can increase your propensity to be insulin resistant. Okay, so we've got to take a look at both. Part of this, yes, if you need to, get some sleep, do some meditation stuff, get your body coming down and calming down. That's going to help both the cortisol and the insulin. Okay, so yeah. So, and a lot of us do, right? Today's world is very stressful. So, not only do we have imperfect foods, we have a lot of trauma. So, I ended up with insulin resistance, but look, I've had multiple surgeries. I had my thumb torn off. I've had a number of accidents happen. I've had like 20 broken bones across my body. I've had 130 inches of scarring happen to me from different things. That's a lot of trauma. Is it any wonder I ended up insulin resistant? Okay. The insulin resistance has gone. Now I've got to work on getting the rest of this fat off. I've gotten 55 pounds down, got my hypertension done, my hyperlipidemia is gone, my sleep apnea. You guys, I sleep so well now. When I was waking up 60 times an hour before, it can happen. I've had 3 joint replacements. My right knee was supposed to be replaced a year ago, and when I started addressing the insulin resistance, that knee healed. The meniscus regrew, the synovial fluid started being more normal in there, the ligaments tightened up and got stronger, the bones got stronger, all by addressing insulin resistance. Now, that knee that was slated to be replaced in 2022 does not need to be replaced. Okay, it can happen. It doesn't have to be that way. um, so can we talk about really quick why sugar is causing the hyperlipidemia and not your fats? Okay, because this is important. People think if I cut out fats, let's have the sugar and fat conversation. Then I'm going to kind of lead into some of the solutions. Okay, but this is important to understand too. So when you look at your cholesterol panel, right, you have triglycerides, you have HDL, you have LDL. So everybody wants to be like, oh, LDL, that's the baddie. That's the one I got to pay attention to. It is. But it's imperfect the way they test for it. So if you want to have a pen and paper out, write this calculation down. One of the ways you can tell that your insulin resistance is this, insulin resistant. If you have high triglycerides and a low HDL, we're going to put the LDL on the shelf for now, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, high triglycerides, low HDL. So the calculation is this: find your labs, take the triglyceride number, and divide it by the HDL number. That number is going to give you an indication of how likely you are or how high at risk you are to have heart disease. It's also going to tell you how likely you are to be insulin resistant. Okay, you guys can look it up on the NIH. This calculation is there. But 1.5 or less would lean to the fact that you're pretty safe. Okay, if it's 1.5 to 3, you're in that range where you're starting to build some insulin resistance, you're starting to put your heart at risk, you're starting to have some problems. You should start addressing. If it's 3 or higher, honey, you got a problem. Take care of it. Okay, triglycerides divided by HDL. I did a video on it a while back. I will do, and I did a post on it, but I'll do another one, okay? Because this is an important calculation. I want everybody to know. You don't have to go in and have some specialized test. You don't have to do all that. Take the labs from the annual that you just had and look at those numbers. That will tell you where you're at. Okay, so why triglycerides and HDL? So with the LDL and the cholesterol and the lipid panels that we're having, sugar converts LDL improperly in the bloodstream. What most of us don't realize, because I didn't, and I worked in medical offices for years, there's two types of LDL. There's this big buoyant one that looks like a beach ball, and there's this little tiny one that's like kind of like a golf ball. So if you imagine standing in front of a pool and You throw the beach ball in, it's just going to kind of bob along the top of the water, right? Float around, not a care, it's okay. You throw a golf ball in that same body of water, what's going to happen? It's going to sink to the bottom. Throw a bunch of golf balls in, now all of a sudden the bottom of this pool is clogged up with all these golf balls. Insulin resistance cues your body to create more of LDL type B. That smaller molecule fat then starts to sink in your blood vessels and starts to cause these barriers because it's building up, it's building up, it's building up. Now you have cholesterol buildup in your bloodstream that was cued by sugar, not by excess fats. Okay, sugar, not fats. Now, the exception is this. We're going to talk about fats. I have an ebook called 6 Simple Steps that will help you guys understand how to eat, what to eat, all of that. Go get it. It's if you just go to my link here. We're going to go there in a little bit anyway. But those 6 simple steps, one of them is about these fats. The fats you really want to focus on are not the fats that everybody's been talking about for the last 60 years. Good, Nape. So that's one indicator. I'm going to give you some other indicators, okay? So, we were talking about fats. The fats you want to focus on: extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin. Don't do the light oil. Don't do the, because those are just seed oils with a little bit of olive oil in them. Not healthy for you. If it's in a light bottle, it means that it has a long shelf life. Not good. Those are causing inflammation in your body, which can spike your insulin. Extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil. Read your labels. Some of them will be labeled as such, but they're actually some of the seed oils with just enough of these in it to call it that. You want the pure avocado or olive oil. Yes, you're going to spend more on it, but for $18 for the bottle of oil instead of $3 for the bottle that's causing insulin resistance, you're going to end up saving way more in your health and in your medical expenses, okay? Then coconut oil. So the oil, and then you're going to do butter or ghee, and then the animal fats on the meats you have. Stop cutting them off. Just like fiber needs to go with carbohydrates, protein needs fats. They have a love affair, and it's a good love affair. You need fats with protein. You need it. So stop cutting it out. That's not causing the problem. So again, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, butter, ghee, your animal fats. So yes, that means duck fat and real lard, okay? So those actually, a couple of things. Your number one, this goes back to sugars. Your brain needs sugar, which is off topic, but your brain needs sugar. It can't take it up because of insulin resistance, but your body needs fats, okay? So when you have high amounts of muscle and you're building muscle, there's a membrane around your muscle. And what's that membrane built up of? Does anybody know the membrane that's kind of containing your muscle? Does anybody know what nutrient is making that membrane? You mean you cut into meats, you can kind of see the membrane in there? That membrane is built up of something that if you don't have enough of it can break and cause problems like rhabdomyolysis. When you see athletes who are doing like intense workouts and they're taking creatine to pump up their muscle, and all of a sudden their muscle explodes and it goes out everywhere, it's because that membrane got weak. It's because they went low fat. The membrane is made up of fat. So if the membrane is not getting enough nutrient fat that it needs to be strong around those muscle cells, it can break and explode and cause problems. Now, the second part of this is when we think about muscle, we all think about skeletal muscle, right? The stuff that moves our arms and our legs. I want you to understand that your liver, your kidneys, your heart, all of that stuff is muscle too. It's a little different muscle tissue than the skeletal muscle, but it still is muscle. It still needs a healthy amount of the healthy fats in order to function properly. So when sugar comes in and we have fat, now what's happening is when we have this high insulin level, there's a place in our brain called the hypothalamus. When we have this insulin resistance, the hypothalamus is cueing our body to store more of a second type of fat, which I haven't even gone over yet. We have 2 types of fat in our body. We have a white fat and we have a brown fat. So white is subcutaneous, brown is visceral. Why is it brown? Um, the brown, we're going to get there. I promise. I will just dive in here in just a second. The brown fat has mitochondria in it. That's usually the fat that's underneath your muscle wall of your tummy. It can run up into your throat and in your tongue. Those mitochondria are little energy cells. And so they're making that fat be a very warming thing. So nuts are good. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But nuts are also kind of high in carbohydrates, most of them. So understand that. So this brown fat that's being underneath the muscle wall of our tummy is supposed to help us keep our organs. Too many questions coming in, you guys. It's supposed to keep our organs protected and warm. But when we have this hypothalamus cueing us to put on too much, now it starts impacting those organs, and our belly starts to poke out, and we start to choke off those organs. The heart, the liver, the kidneys, all of it starts to have problems processing. Okay, so the solution, okay, is fiber. The solution is fiber. There are so many doctors now who are talking about how fiber is key. There's a book called Fiber Fueled. Dr. Yao, Dr. Lee, Dr. Fung, Dr. Bickman all talk about how fiber is key in helping keeping these sugar levels down, and so that we can have a normal insulin level. So let's go over the solutions. Yes, eating every 2 hours, throw it out. It's going to work for a little while, and then it's going to destroy your metabolism, and you're going to start having excess weight. That's part of what happened to me. I bought into the eat every 2 hours. I bought into the do all that, and I did fine for a few years, and then all of a sudden I started gaining weight rapidly and getting sick. Stop it. Our bodies were not meant to eat as often as we eat. Our bodies are an amazing machine. Stop eating so often. So yes, one cue is intermittent fasting. So it doesn't have to be the crazy fasts that I've done in my quest to fix my body. You can do it with just a 16-hour fast. I'm going to tell you why right now. So fasting is one tool. Okay. And most of you guys are having problems fasting because you're so food addicted. The fiber is going to help that. We're going to get there in a second. But fasting. So we're going to do an imaginary timeline, okay, just because it's the one that fits. So if you have dinner around 6 o'clock and then you're like, okay, I'm going to get my insulin under control. I'm not going to eat anymore. I'm not going to have popcorn. I'm not going to have a bag full of M&Ms. I'm not going to have those couple of Oreos. I'm not going to have the bowl of ice cream. I'm not going to do whatever it is that you do in the nighttime when you're sitting around watching Netflix, okay? You're not going to do that anymore. You have your dinner, you're done. So it takes a couple of hours for your blood sugars to start to normalize. It takes 4 to 6 hours for your blood sugars to start to drop. All that time, because your blood sugars are high, your insulin is still high. Okay. So about 6 hours later, your blood sugars are starting to go down. They're starting to clear out. Now, if you wait 2 more hours, the insulin goes, oh, hey, there's no more sugar coming in. I don't have to be out here anymore. Hey, Jason, I don't have to stand guard anymore. I can finally take a rest. So now insulin comes down. That's at about 8 hours after you've just eaten. So again, if you're eating every 2 hours, you never allow this to happen. Okay. So about 8 hours. And that's if you're eating something healthy. But if you're having something high in pasta, or you're having high in carbohydrates or starches, that could take 10 or 12 hours for this insulin to come down. So 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 6 to midnight is 6 hours. So about 2 a.m., your insulin is coming down. Okay. Then it takes a couple more hours before glucagon, remember the other part of your metabolic system, says, oh, hey, insulin's not out there anymore. Insulin's not going to bully me anymore. I can come out and do my job. I can come out and play on the playground. So at about 4 a.m., glucagon starts to come out, and it starts to like reach out to the cells of the body and say, hey, let's party. I'm here. I'm out. We're going to do some stuff. But it takes a couple of hours, remember? So now at about 6 a.m., your gut is not got any more stuff to digest. It's all done, and it's starting to reset. You're starting to get you're starting to get new cells in the gut. You're starting to get this gut microbiome change. You're starting to get all of this stuff happen. Your body's also starting to say, hey, we're not getting sugar for energy. We need fat for energy. So it's starting to kick out things like human growth hormone, and ketones. Ketones are these messengers that tell your body to use fat for fuel because you've no longer put sugar in. But that's like 10, 12 hours after you had your last bite of food. So normally we're waking up in the morning and what do? We grab a bagel. Okay, maybe we throw some egg and sausage on it and we call it because we had egg and sausage on it. But it still is a whole lot of carbs because you had that bagel. So you're starting that, or worse, you're having cereal, orange juice, fruits. Those are all just sugars. Yes, oatmeal, sugars. So now you're spiking your insulin up again. So intermittent fasting means that when we wake up at 12 hours, for me, I'm having this tea and I'll wait another 4 hours after that before I eat. So for me, I'm already 14 hours into a fast, but I'm going to probably go till noon today. So I'll probably be 16, 18 hours into a fast. The tea does not break my fast because it's not spiking my sugars or my insulin. It's helping me with ketones. It's helping me with fat burning. It's helping me with energy. It's helping me with mental clarity. So that's how I do it. I wake up in the morning, I have my tea, shuts down my hunger. Now I can finish out this fast where my body's starting to exchange fat for fuel. It's starting to get rid of junk cells out of the body. That really starts happening about hour 14. So we want to make it to hour 16 to utilize that last couple of hours where we're really actually doing some good fat burning. Okay. Coffee is okay. Just don't add a bunch of stuff to it. You can get the tea by going into my profile and link there. So, all right. I want to go back over a couple of things. I've been promising to show you the solution. So we're talking about that. Then I'm going to come back to some of the numbers and some of the other questions. Because, okay, so coffee with monk fruit is okay. If the monk, I would check though. If the monk fruit is spiking your insulin, it is not okay. Yes, the 16-8 method is perfect for diabetes type 2. And we'll go over, I can actually answer that now. Do you have any tips? You're pregnant and don't know how to tell my husband. Oh, yeah, can't help that. Is honey bad in tea? If you're trying to keep your insulin down, yes. Honey is going to spike your insulin. Honey has some amazing benefits, but during your fasting window, no. Okay. All right. So during your fasting window, you can have tea, you can have coffee, you can have water. Those are not going to spike your insulin. They're not going to spike or break your fast for our purposes. So that's what I drink every morning here. You can go to my profile, find the link, and that's where you're going to get it. So that's fasting, right? So stop the eating madness. Stop putting food in your face all the time. We just don't need it. We're doing it out of boredom, out of socialism, social interaction, out of all of these other things. We don't need that much food, and we're all overeating. Okay, so number 2, you're going to follow these 6 steps. Okay, you want to get fiber in first before you eat, every time you eat, because that's going to slow down the blood sugars converting in your system into energy too quickly. You want to focus on protein. So your fiber first, and then protein, and then fats, and then limit your carbs. So proteins. Proteins spike your insulin about half as much, but they still spike your insulin as carbohydrates do. But they're also the most satiating of all of the macronutrients. Your macronutrients are protein, fats, and carbohydrates. So protein spikes your insulin, but keeps you satiated the most. Fats don't spike your insulin, not as satiating as proteins. Carbohydrates spike your insulin and are not satiating. Okay, so on your plate, it's going to be fiber first to help protect from this insulin, this energy conversion. Protein next, and your protein should be about the size of your fist. Okay, and then fats. Always have fats with your protein. So whether it's your coconut oil, your butter, your olive oil, your avocado. Avocado is great protein and fiber. Avocado, guys, super food. Okay, so fiber, protein, fats, and then limit your carbs. So remember, I said 3 macronutrients. If it's not a protein, it's not a fat, then it is a carbohydrate. So stop thinking that carbohydrates are just breads and cakes and candies and rice and pasta, because every fruit and every vegetable is a carbohydrate. So if you're trying to get your blood sugars down, until you get your body retrained, you're going to need to limit those as well. Fruits, I treat them like dessert. And there are certain fruits that I'll eat, and we can go over that. The ebook has all of this information, so go get it, okay? So that's the first 4 steps: fiber, protein, fats, limit your carbohydrates. Then comes in the intermittent fasting we just talked about. And then I'm going to tell you to move your body. 25 to 30% of your body is muscle. The more, and it's very hungry for energy. The one cell that's going to take all this insulin to get the energy in it, that's going to start changing things for you, are your muscles. So move. I'm not talking about go do crazy workout routines or that. Walk 30 minutes a day. Just get your body moving. We all sit on our butts in front of these desks way too often. Fasting will not. Let's talk about. Let me finish up with the system, and then we'll talk about bone density, fat, and muscle. Okay. Okay. So if you're vegetarian, I'm not the best source for that. But however, we have a couple. He's carnivore, she's vegetarian, and they both thrive on the system I'm about to show you. So proteins, vegetarian, you should know some good sources of protein. Make sure they're lower in carbohydrate proteins and get those in first. So you guys, one thing I want to dried fruits are very high in sugar, Margot, high in sugar. Okay, they've just compounded that sugar. The sugar in fruits, by the way, has to go through the liver more so than anything else, and they get stored back in the liver. So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is being caused by the excess of fruit juice and excess sugars from fruits. Okay, so understand that. Now, the system that I use, you guys, the protocol that I use, it's real food products and not medications. I will answer as many questions as I can in just a minute. So I have this tea in the morning that helps me with the fast. Then the fiber that I use, because I'm not going to go out and try and figure out all the fibers I need and make sure that I have all of them. And, you know, I travel and on the road a lot. So I use these fibers. Now, the amount of fiber in this, I don't want to misquote. I don't think it was Dr. Lee, but there was a doctor who just said that the amount of fiber in this can increase your longevity by 13 to 15 years. It's so powerful. This has 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers in it. 3 of those fibers, if you Google the fibers that are best to lower your blood sugars, those 3 fibers are in here. So this is easy for me because instead of like, oh my gosh, I have to have raw fruits and vegetables and all this stuff around me all the time, which I love to have, I put this much water, put this in, shake it up, drink it down, wait 10 minutes, I eat. Now, in the 10 minutes, this is thickening up in my gut, helping me feel full before I even eat. Now it's creating a gel matrix in my gut that's helping coat the foods that's coming in, so it's slowing down the delivery, not depriving you of any of the nutrients, just slowing down the delivery of those foods into energy or blood glucose, so you're not having this high spike of sugars, you're having a much lower manageable spike of sugars. This has been proven to reduce the blood sugar spike and reduce the insulin spike. So that's that. I do that before my first 2 biggest meals of the day, and generally I only have 2 meals a day. Now, it's real life. I'm a real person. Do I do that every day? No. Are there days I have 3 meals? Yes. Are there days I'm out enjoying with friends and whatnot? Yes. You know what I do? I just have this because with that, it fits in my, I just take it with me. That's it. Now I get my fiber in no matter what I eat, no matter what I put in my face, this goes in. That's how I reversed my diabetes, my hypertension, and my hyperlipidemia. So if you guys want it, let's go take a look at where you're going to get it real quick here. Facebook, I will put a link in here real quick. Get the link in for Facebook, YouTube. So you guys, if you click this link over there, it's going to take you to the same place that I'm going to show everybody right here. So you guys, so many buttons. Okay, so let's take a look at where to order and get back to answering questions. And by the way, order it from someone who's authorized to distribute it. I am, or one thing I haven't talked about is there is a 90-day money back guarantee. There's satisfaction guarantee, and there's a quality guarantee. You don't get those if you're buying it from Amazon, eBay, Walmart. We don't even know if those are real products, and they're not real tutors, and you won't get the best price. So you get my discount when you use this. So go to my profile here on TikTok, right below the red light. Take it easy for you guys. There's a link. Click on that link. It's going to take you to this page where the very top option is the system I use, and click on that, and it's going to take you to the company's website to buy. They will ship it to you. You're not waiting on mail to figure out, or Misha to figure out how to get to the post office. You don't want to do that. Make sure it says Michelle Fay on. I'm going to see your order come in. I'm going to email you, call you, and help you get through with this, and help coach you. So then you're just going to click buy now, and this is what you're going to get. You're going to get 30 of that tea for one every morning. You're going to get 60 of the balance, or the pre-meal drink, for one before each of your 2 biggest meals, and that's that. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of other things, and then we're right back to questions, okay? So it does all of this. Intermittent fasting easier, helps you stay fuller for longer, slows the digestion. It has high quality herb mate in the tea. In the tea, you can have it hot, and you can choose between all these flavors. So there's lemon, ginger, lemon, which tastes like a lemon iced tea, or black, which tastes more like black coffee. Okay, up, down. Okay, same tea, just has a different taste. And then the pre-meal drink is an orange flavor, so it tastes like an orange creamsicle. Drink it immediately, and then have it 10 minutes before you eat. If you do it on a one-time purchase, it's $159. If you do it on subscription, you're going to save yourself dollars, bring it down to $154, or about $5 a day. You can cancel that at any time, but you all free delivery, so save yourself the money. Okay. That's where you're going to get it, and you'll get to ask me questions. You get to text me every day. You get to do all of the things to get your answers and get your health back. Okay. So I thought high cortisol, you have to eat high protein breakfast. So let's talk about that. A couple of questions. Let's talk about a couple of things here. First, questions makes it hard to deliver all the information. Yep. Thank you, Christine. Yeah. Now I can go back to answering questions. Cassandra, I don't know what your question was. I'm trying to find it. Milk does have a lot of carbs and sugar. That's why, you know what, but it also has some good sources of fat. So I only use whole cream. Okay. I don't see the question, Cassandra. You might have to re-ask it. Okay. With your cortisol levels, let's talk about the dawn phenomenon really quick. Because this is interesting, and a lot of people will be like, but my morning blood sugars are still high, and I don't understand. I'm doing everything right. And I hear it a lot. And you guys, let's talk of the dawn phenomenon. And I'm hitting the wrong buttons. And what's really happening with you when all of that goes on. So the dawn phenomenon and cortisol, it's like this. When you wake up in the morning, waking you up without the alarm is cortisol. Okay. Your body is innately intelligent. Remember, guys, always remember that your body is innately intelligent. Why is this not going away? It's making me nuts. All right, I'm just gonna have to live with it. There we go. Okay, so when you, like, say you have an alarm that goes off every morning at 5 o'clock. Okay, we'll say 6 o'clock because 5 o'clock triggers people. 6 o'clock in the morning, you get up. But you know that most of the time you wake up before that alarm goes off, that's your body going, oh, hey, it's that time of day. This person's got to wake up. They got to get ready to go. So cortisol come out because we need a little bit of that fight or flight. We need the blood pressure going up. We need extra sugar in the body because they have to get up. They have to have energy. The sugar isn't coming from what you ate. The sugar is coming from all places it's stored. Jude, type your question in, or is this you? Jude, amen. Tell me your story, Jude. Okay, so your cortisol is naturally up in the morning because of this fight-flight mode. So the fasting window that I talked about, you guys, we can do it 2 different ways. You can fast through the morning like I do, which is the easiest way for most people. Have your lunch and then go home and have your dinner with your family. You want to eat in an 8-hour window. But the first thing I do, my break fast at noon, is high protein and high fat. So usually it's like steak and eggs, bacon, no nitrate, bacon and eggs, something like that. I have a carbohydrate, it's a pear on the side at the end of that meal. And I'll add avocado to that. I love eggs for breakfast, so that's what I do, even if it's at noon. Sometimes it's just chicken, green beans, but it's still high, and I add a good pat of butter in there. That's helping my body and helping my metabolism. So if you're having problems, then you're just going to shift your fasting window. You're going to eat in the morning, stop eating by like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It just means you're going to go through in the evening when your family's having dinner and whatnot. If that's not a big deal to you, it's not. Then you're allowing your gut to empty and you're allowing your gut to rest as you're sleeping, which there's some real efficacy to that too. So you guys pick what works for your lifestyle. There's so much we can do for our health, but really in the end, it has to be something that's sustainable and livable to you, or you're not going to do it. If skipping dinner with your family is not, then you're not going to continue. If skipping breakfast, which most people aren't sitting down to breakfast with their family, and starting your eating window later and having dinner with your family works, then do that. If you're not having that concern, and eat a meal early in the day, high in protein and fats, and then having a higher carbohydrate meal midday, and then not eating afterward. If that works for you, do that. You guys, this is about your lifestyle and what's going to make it sustainable and doable for you. Okay. The system has helped. Jude, I'd love to hear your story. Jason's in here, and Jason's lost, I think, 160 pounds now. He's taken his A1C from 13.3 down to 5.7 now, all with just this system that I used. Okay. So other questions that you guys may have. What if you don't have high sugars, only high insulin? Ollie, that's a great question. So let's talk about that. And thank you, Sean. Yeah, contact me on WhatsApp, Ollie. I have some answers for you, but I want to answer Ollie's question. So he said, what if you don't have high sugars, only high insulin? So in order to have high insulin, you have high sugars. It's just that your body is finding a way for you to store those sugars in the fat cells or in other cells. And then at some point that scale is going to tip, and now you're going to have high insulin and high sugars. So it goes like this: high sugars and then high insulin or hyperinsulinemia. Long term, that becomes insulin resistance. Long term, this becomes prediabetes, and then that becomes diabetes type 2. So let's talk about that. These are great questions. So you're still, if you have high insulin, you still need to get the sugars under control because you don't have high insulin without high sugars. Now, Anna says, how do you know if you have high sugar or insulin resistance? I gave you a calculation. Somebody asked, I did see that. Let's go over the calculation again one more time. Find your labs, and then I'm going to go over some indicators that insulin resistance is you. So find your labs and find your cholesterol panel, and you want to find triglycerides, and you want to find your HDL. You should divide your triglycerides by your HDL, and the number you get should be 1.5. I'm postmenopausal, and the system has worked for me when nothing else did. Okay, so I obviously have some other issues. My hormones are down. There's a whole other topic. I'm happy to sit and talk about it. Talk about where was I headed? If you have, so that's one thing. If that number is above 1.5, you're building into insulin resistance. Start taking care of it. All right, let's do a checklist. Okay, so Ollie says, oh, wow, yes, I'm at the stage of not being able to lose the weight, has high blood pressure. How many of you guys in here, type of 1 if you have high blood pressure? Does anybody have a blood pressure that's 130 over 80 higher consistently? That's hypertension, it's high blood pressure. Anybody have that? Okay, so you guys all type a 1 in if you have high blood pressure. Okay, now, if you have high cholesterol levels. Oof. Ms. Monique, I was at 180 over 150 at some point during every day, and the best we could get it in a doctor's office was 150 over 110. Crazy. So high cholesterol. Put it if you have high cholesterol. Okay. Your fat is going up, your triglycerides over 150, all that. Okay, those are both signs of insulin resistance, by the way. Okay. Okay. So now let's take a look. Are you having weight that you can't get off? Type in 3. Weight that's come on out of nowhere, can't get it off. It just won't come off no matter what you do. You feel like you're eating well, you're exercising, you're doing all the things tells you, and the weight, damn it, just won't come off. Okay. All 3 of those are signs of insulin resistance. So if you answered 1, 2, and 3, guess what? You won the insulin resistance lottery. You are insulin resistant. Okay. But there's more. So let's talk about some other things. Number 4. So if you're having body aches and pains that you just can't explain, and all you can say is, I just hurt everywhere, put a 4 in. Okay. So if your body's just hurting and you're just can't explain it, and the doctors may be calling it fibromyalgia, that's another symptom. So beyond the weight, the fat, if your belly is starting to protrude, whether you have excess weight or not, you have this big belly. Okay. Put a 5 in. Okay. So that 5, your belly is getting bigger because your belly is poking out. Looks like you're pregnant, even if you're 50 years old, even if you're a guy, even if you're thin everywhere else, because your body is storing fat under the muscle wall. And the only way the body stores excess fat under the muscle wall, you're insulin resistant. Okay. Hey, Andre. Jude says she's on the system for a year now. She's from an extra large to a large. Her A1C is down. She feels wonderful, and she's no longer tired. Where's my bell? So I love hearing stories like this. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Okay. So you guys, the system does work. All right. So those are all signs. I'm going to go over some other signs. If this sounds like you guys, just know that these are also signs of insulin resistance. How long to see or feel results of the system? It's dependent on you and what's going on with your health. Jason lost 30 pounds in his first 30 days. It's taken him a little over a year to get his from that really high 13.3 down to a normal 5.7, but it all happened, right? Me, I started having more energy, more mental clarity. My blood pressure started going down. My swelling started going down, all in the first 30 days. I didn't lose any weight. We're going to talk about weight, bone density in just a minute. I didn't lose any weight for 6 weeks, and then weight on the scale started to come off, but I'll tell you a story about that. Then at 3 months in, I was down 25 pounds. At 5 months in, I was down 50 pounds. And I had my gallbladder removed, and that cut everything as far as weight, but everything else got better. My allergies got better. My inflammation throughout my body got better. My brain function got better. My hair started growing in. I stopped having so much. My IBS is almost completely resolved. Skin tags and skin discoloration all went away within the first 3 months. And leg cramps me up every morning screaming in pain were gone within 3 months. Back swim gym and fluid loss. Okay. I don't understand that, Pamela. So Jason is on TikTok. Okay, so where were we at? You guys, I get lost. This is why I don't stop to answer certain questions, because I get lost. A1C down. Well, I lost where I was. Oh, symptoms. Okay, let's go over the symptoms, and then we're going to go back over the how. Thank you guys for bearing with my ADHD self. This is my life. Okay, so if you have skin tags, Skin tags do not need to be cut off, lasered off, rubber banded off, any of that. They're just going to come back. Yeah, this works without the medications. This is replacing medications and it's real food. So we'll talk about that in a second. But skin tags are another sign. If you have those dark skin patches on your elbows, your knees, under your arms, in your groin, around your neck, that's a sign of insulin resistance. Constant migraines, headaches, aches, and pains, that's a sign of insulin resistance. Start tallying these up. The more of these you have, then the more likely it is that you're insulin resistant. So if you have more than 2 of these, start addressing it. If you have more than 3, then, then yeah, let's start getting it taken care of. Ozempic, I think that's enough. If you guys want more symptoms other than like anxiety, depression, sleep apnea, headaches, high blood pressure, skin tags, skin discoloration, joint pain, all of that, that's all signs of insulin resistance. So everybody's talking about medications. Let's dive in. What you need to know is how can you eat fat if you have high cholesterol? Ollie, you might have missed it. I talked about how sugar is causing your high cholesterol, not fat. Your body is converting the sugar you're eating into the type of cholesterol that's causing you problems, not your dietary fat. And berberine works for some. That's great. On TikTok, it's Misha Fayant. Sorry, you guys, I'm not reading these out, and I'm sorry. So somebody asked what my TikTok name is. Okay, so, all right, yeah, do that. Then berberine, Ozempic, all of those things. Berberine, you guys, is good, but it works for some people, and if it works for you, great. But if it's not, then let's take a look at the system that I'm doing, because it's helping people without all the side effects, and it doesn't interact with your other medications. It's food, but it's just replacing what's been stripped out of our diet so that we can have bodies that work more normally. Ozempic. GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1 agonists. What they're doing is, let's stop. Anytime you're forcing your body to do something, I will not be a proponent of it. This is my personal opinion. Okay? I am not a proponent of medication that's forcing your body to do something, with the exception of like antibiotics. When you have a surgery and you have infection and that's going to save your life, gotta do that, right? But glucagon-like peptides, Ozempic, Trulicity, Mounjaro, all of those. Couple of things they're doing. They're taking the big fat cells you have and they're forcing them to deplete. So you're losing weight, but they're also forcing your pancreas to produce more insulin to try and get this sugar dealt with in your body. So insulin is already a problem. So insulin shots and those medications. Why? If insulin is already a problem, why would you do something that's creating more of what's already a problem? Would you take an alcoholic and say, oh, you're having withdrawal symptoms, you're having problems, you have non-alcoholic fatty liver, let's give you a 6-pack. That's going to make you feel better. Is that what you would do? Because that's what is happening when they're giving you insulin and these other things. So they're also reducing your hunger by making you a little bit nauseous. You just don't feel like eating, and that's fine, but that starts to wear off. According to Dr. Bickman, that starts to wear off. He wrote the book Why We Get Sick, Metabolic Specialist. That starts to wear off in about 2 years. You eventually come off the drug. Now, you've done all of this forcing your body. I love it when people say, my doctor says it's training my body to do something. Man, stop it. A medication that's forcing your cells to do something is not training your body to do it. Your body now says, oh, I have to have this medication to have this action. It's not creating health in your body. Training your body is giving it the natural tools, the food, the nutrient that it needs to do what it's supposed to do. Yep. So in insulin, okay, I'm going to be really blunt. This is Dr. Bickman's words. And then I can go back and explain it a little bit. But you guys, he's all over YouTube. He also produced these 2 products. Dr. Bickman helped produce. So he has a ton of videos on YouTube. He educates doctors about why insulin is so bad for you. He says it's making the patients fatter quicker, it's making sicker quicker, and it's killing them quicker. He is educating doctors to stop giving insulin to type 2 diabetics. Okay, so type 1 diabetics. Somebody asked a question about type 1 diabetics. Type 1 diabetics cannot produce insulin. They have to have insulin because insulin is actually a necessary hormone. But type 1 diabetics can become insulin resistant just like type 2 diabetics. Okay, so type 1 diabetics can become like type 2 diabetics. I need you to hear me on that. Your insulin levels are so high so often because sugar levels go so high so often that you're having to take in more and more insulin. And now the same thing that happens to us type 2 diabetics is happening in the body of a type 1 diabetic. They're resistant to the insulin that they're, and then what does the doctor say? Give you more insulin, give you more insulin, give you more insulin. I have numbers of type 1 diabetics who are suffering with weight, who are suffering with depression, anxiety, mood disorders, who started the system, got their sugars under control. Did it mean they had to stop taking insulin? No, they will always have to take insulin. But it helped them become more sensitive. So all the same problems that type 2 diabetics are having, they're no longer having. I'm going to show you a picture of a young man right now who is type 1 diabetic, and his mama, bless her heart, got him on the system, and now even with type 1 diabetes, he lost over 35 pounds at 11 years old. His mood is better. He's doing better in school. He has less need for fast-acting insulin, almost never uses that. His long-acting insulin is down by about 40%, and the kid now has a life. Will he always be on insulin? Yes. Is there a huge difference between this guy and this guy and the mood? And I got to meet this kid, and you know what this kid said about the system? When I said, how hard is it? Easiest thing I've done, Misha. Easiest thing I've done. Did it taste bad? No, it tasted great. Those are his words. I have a video somewhere in all my thousands of videos where I talk to this kid. Look at type 1 diabetic youth. So yes, both youth and type 1 diabetics can do it as well. Berberine is great, but yeah, this is not stripping your stomach. It's going to add to the gut microbiome. It's going to add vitamins and nutrients. You guys, the tea alone, the Argentinians who harvest this call it the tea of the gods. It's so dense in nutrients. This thing they can live on, and this is 375 times the normal herbal mate tea that you can buy on the shelf. Plus, it's been stripped of all the pesticides and stuff, so now it's really, really pure. Gives you tons of energy and mental clarity. But this is a type 1 youth, okay? Yeah. So, Sarah, if you want to talk more, then get with me and let's talk about it, because it's actually it helped this kid, and it can just change your daughter's life. So I also, there's a gal over in we all have our stories, but there's a gal over in the UK who's done this. She has a pump, and she's been able to reduce her insulin load by over 40% as well. She's lost a ton of weight, has her mental clarity, her mood's back, all of it. All of the same symptoms that we suffer with, fibromyalgia, headaches, all of that, type 1s can suffer with too, because we have to regulate the sugar, and that will regulate the insulin. Just dumping more insulin into our system, whether we're type 1 or type 2, is not the best course, right? So if we want to really address it, type 1 again needs insulin. But do they need as much as they're getting now? No. That all has to do with the food that we're eating and why. So let's go back to I want to go back to this page. If you go back to my landing page, the very top one, there's this where you can order the system. So for those of you guys who missed that, order it there. I'll put in Facebook Tube again. Like Ollie's been able to contact me on WhatsApp. You guys, if you are not in the US, add me to WhatsApp. Add me to WhatsApp. Add me to WhatsApp. I actually do answer. Ollie, will you tell them that I actually do answer? So there's my WhatsApp link there. If you need to talk to me, I know this is a big thing, Sarah, for you and your daughter. So I don't expect you to just jump on something. But if you need to talk, We can text back and forth. I'm on the phone a lot. If it takes a call, I can call, but I want to help you out and understand what's going on. Okay. So let's get back to all of this. What other questions am I missing right now? You have insulin resistance. Let's talk about that. So tell me what else you're suffering with if you have insulin resistance, the title of the book. So let's go back here for a second. I got to set this up for my guys over on Facebook and YouTube too. You guys, on my landing page, if you come all the way to the bottom, right below the contact me on WhatsApp is my recommendations. So if you just click on that, that's going to take you to, I haven't been talking about my gallbladder lately, but I have a lot of things to track, like my ketones. I track that more than my blood sugars, all of this stuff. If you keep coming down, all these books. Why We Get Sick is right here. That'll just take you right where to buy it. The other books I would recommend are the Diabetes Code and the Obesity Code, and then Why Calories Don't Count. You guys stop counting calories. Okay, now, that triggered me into something that I've been saying I was going to talk about. So let's do it. Let's talk. Muscle, fat, and bones. Okay? Muscle, fat, and bones. Let me turn this back around. I'm going to leave it this way for just a second because it's just easier for me. All right. So when you're insulin resistant, understand if all the cells in your body need energy, and all the cells in your body are resistant to insulin, it means they're not getting energy. And that includes your muscle tissues and your bones and all of the like meniscus, labrum, synovial fluid, ligaments, all of that are not getting the energy they need to be produced in the body and do the job they're supposed to do. So can you lose bone when you're insulin resistant? Absolutely. Your bones are not getting the energy they need to stay dense and firm and not brittle. So especially for women in menopause, this is important. Weight-bearing exercise, and it doesn't have to be heavy, light weight-bearing exercise, and getting your insulin under control is hugely important for you with osteoporosis. Now, muscle. If your muscles are not getting in the insulin because you're not working the muscles and making them hungry, and you're not regulating the sugar, so the muscles are like, it's too much, then you're going to start having muscle loss. At the same time, you're going to start having fat gain. So why did I not lose weight during this first month on the system? Why was it 6 weeks before I lost weight? Well, it was something like this. I had a pair of shorts that I bought just before this little story, before I started the system, because I'm like, yay, I'm going to be the cool kid. I'm going to wear these denim jeans because I'm autistic. I hate denim. I never wear it. It's sensory thing. But I'm just going to look cool. I'm going to buy these denim jeans. They have the rips in them. They have all the stuff. But I couldn't even buckle them up when I bought them because I'm like, I'm going to lose the weight. I'm going to wear them this summer. 1 month on the system. I hadn't taken my measurements. I forgot to. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do now? How am I going to measure if I'm actually losing fat or not? Because the scale's not moving. And I'm being told that I could be gaining muscle and losing fat. So I went and found those shorts. Guess what? In 1 month, those shorts were fitting. They were already getting too loose in my thighs and in my butt. The belly from all the visceral fat still had to keep coming down. But I had lost fat, which means I was gaining muscle and lean tissue because the weight on the scale wasn't changing. Now, with all of that, I want you to understand too that if you're insulin resistant and you're already having a loss of muscle and you go on a calorie restrictive diet, you're going to lose more muscle to lose that weight. Okay? So the next thing is people say, but you talk about intermittent fasting. You know what? Because, yeah, I still take in probably 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day in the 2 meals that I eat because I'm focusing proteins and fats, calorie-dense foods that are nourishing my body. I'm not restricting calories. I'm allowing my body to have a rest from the insulin and allow glucagon and some of the other things to come out and play and do their job. So in this way that we're losing weight, that we're addressing our health, what happens is as you start to become more insulin sensitive, stop eating every 2 hours. Your muscles can actually start to take on the energy they need. Your bones can start to take on the energy they need. Your ligaments, your labrum, your meniscus, the synovial fluid can all take up the energy to start being produced more like your body wants to produce it, and now your body's healing. Your weight is not changing because you're losing fat, but you're putting back all the stuff that has been at risk because of the insulin resistance. So there's that. Yeah, Ollie. So I have an ebook that covers some of it. I'm working on a cookbook. If I can get my butt in gear, um, I'll get a simple cookbook. It's not going to be extensive, but Dr. Fung also has a cookbook out there, and he talks about what foods to eat. Dr. Bickman covers some of that in this book. So if Ollie, if that's your question, then get this book. It's going to tell you. Towards the back here, he talks about. Oh, I don't even know. I have too many markers in here. He talks about what foods to eat and what not in the book. What ones are good, ones are not so good. So there's that, and then Dr. Fung's cookbooks, obesity code cookbook or diabetes code cookbook. Those are great resources as well. I'm going to do a cookbook just because I want to help my people out and see how I eat. And also, I've created a bunch of recipes using the tea that just help me during the fasting window. So it's not just like I have to do the lemon tea all the time. I can add things to it, and I'll be sharing that with everybody for Christmas. Okay, so let's go back to some questions and answers. Did I miss any? Yep. I'm glad you bought it, Abundance. It's a good book, you guys. And you will find that almost everything I talk about, now I do go out and I do find works from other doctors, but my go-to is Dr. Bickman. Fangirl, love the guy. He's so humble and so genuine and so caring. But he's also very knowledgeable. He teaches at BYU. Metabolism is his specialty. When he was going through school, I can't remember what it was he was going to study, but then he started realizing the way he could make the most impact in the world was by addressing the one thing that's causing most of us to be sick, and that's our metabolism. So again, the system I use is a tea in the morning, a pre-meal drink before I eat anything. Dr. Bickman uses this system. He helped create the system. Okay. So yeah, I love the guy, and he talks about this to us a lot. I actually got to meet him and study with him, and amazing day for me. Okay, so I wish I could do like a virtual course, and I probably will sometime from Dr. Bickman one day, because that's just how my mind works. I want all the info. Okay, there seems to be. You're very welcome. Okay, is there anything healthy diet and pressure still high? Ms. Monique, so we can get the blood pressure down. There's a 90-day money back guarantee. I didn't go over that. If the guarantee isn't for your blood pressure, but the guarantee is also for satisfaction. So if your blood pressure is not coming down, if you're not feeling better from that in 90 days, this is not going to happen in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen in 30 days. Give it 90 days. You guys, if you're going to try the system, commit to 90 days. Why? Because if you stop at 30 days, you don't know what could have happened. If I stopped at 30 days, my joints might have never healed. I probably wouldn't have lost the weight I lost. I probably wouldn't have had a number of the things that I had, because I was not allowing my body time to heal. Give it 90 days. If at 90 days you're like, this isn't working, I don't want to do this anymore, then fine, you get your money back. Okay? But let's talk about blood pressure. I'm going to switch this back around now. Let's talk about blood pressure. How many of you guys want to hear about insulin resistance and how it's causing high blood pressure? I can give you 5 quick ways. I just did a whole series on that recently, But let's talk about that if you guys want to know about blood pressure. Okay, so high blood pressure, there's 5 ways that insulin resistance is causing your high blood pressure. Wow, I didn't reverse this. No, I did reverse it. I don't know what I did. Okay, so it just seems really big. Whatever, we're going to deal with it. All right, blood pressure. 5 ways that insulin resistance causes high blood pressure. Number 1, there are some cells in your body when you're insulin resistant or have too much insulin that are going to be like drama queens. They want all the drama. They're going to take it all up. So that shows up in skin tags. That shows up in skin discoloration, but it also shows up in your blood vessels. So what's happening there is that your blood vessels have an innermost layer called the endothelium. That innermost layer, so say your blood vessel looks about like this. When the endothelium starts to thicken because it's taking up all this excess glucose from insulin, now that space inside starts to narrow down. So this space went to this space because that inner layer thickened up because it's taking up too much insulin or too much energy. So now you're trying to put the same volume of blood through a space that's half the size. That's causing inflammation. So now that's one way. Now let's keep on the endothelium, because has anybody heard about nitric oxide? Nitric oxide is a chemical that your body produces to help your blood vessels relax so that they can open up. Okay, it has to help them relax and not be as tight. The endothelium produces nitric oxide. But when the endothelium is all thickened up and clogged up like this, it's like, oh, I just can't. I can't produce that nitric oxide. I just can't. I'm already weighed down by all these extra cells. I'm not producing the nitric oxide, and now your blood vessels can't relax. Okay, so there's 2 things. Now, it's increasing your cortisol. We talked about that a little bit. So now you have this narrowed down space that can't open up, and then you're going to get this cortisol release because your body's trying to, your body has this excess cortisol from the excess insulin. So now your body's in a slight state of fight or flight all the time. Blood is pumping faster slightly all the time. It's dumping more sugar into your system all the time, causing more problems there. But now you have more pressure of that same volume of blood that just can't get through. Okay, so the blood vessels are too thick, they can't relax, and they're getting more pressure on them from this highly pumping heart. Then, to top all of that off, your kidneys are not able to produce this chemical called aldosterone, and that helps you get rid of salts in the system. So now the kidneys are not dumping off salts like they should, they're retaining it. So now your body has excess salt. This is why your doctor says watch your salts when you have high blood pressure. And it's come from the insulin resistance making a problem with the kidneys, so the kidneys can't do their function and get rid of that salt. So it's holding on to it. Now where salt goes, water goes. Tiny blood vessels that can't relax with too much pressure behind them. And now we're adding more pressure because we're adding more fluid to the blood. 4 ways. The fifth way is that cholesterol we were talking about, right? So now insulin is cueing your body to produce too much of this type B lipid. So LDL, low density lipid, lipoprotein. So we have 2 types of LDL, and this is not often talked about. So type A is this big, buoyant, like a beach ball type of lipid. It kind of bounces around the water, just kind of floating along with no care. Type B is a smaller, denser lipid. It's being converted into type B more often than it is type A in the presence of insulin resistance through some cues from the brain. Now we're producing more type B, this smaller, denser. Well, smaller, denser means it's going to sink to the bottom, right? Sinking to the bottom means it's going to get stuck to your blood vessel wall. So now tiny blood vessels that can't open up, too much pressure behind them, and now too much water. And now we're adding in these little low density lipids that are clogging up that small space. And now you have high cholesterol. I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist. I'm just a woman who got really sick, got better, and dove into finding out why this one system made such a huge change in my life so that I could share it with everybody else so that they could get this, because I worked for doctors and nobody ever helped me like this. Nobody. You know what I got told by my doctors? There's nothing I can do for you. You're always going to be sick. You're always going to have problems. It's just your life, Misha. There's nothing I can do. We did saliva tests. We did 24-hour urine tests. We did blood tests. We did MRIs. We did all the stuff. And my doctor said, there's nothing I can do to help you. That's why I'm here. Okay. So, and I'm not mad about that. I'm just like, I get really impassioned. And, one of my doctors, I loved her. Amazing doctor. But she still felt like she couldn't help me because they're not educated about all of this. So I'm going to the guys who are educating about it, and I'm learning from them, and I'm bringing it to you guys. Okay? All right. So currently is 135 over 100 blood pressure. They're not relaxing, spot on what I'm saying. Yeah. So guess what? What if you could reduce the sugar but have the salt you want? I never count salt. I never count sugar. I just use the system. Because look, I was listening to somebody else, food on her plate. Do you eat each one at a time, starting with fiber? Yes, Melba, I do. So Melba asked, our food on the plate, do I eat each one at a time, starting with fiber? Remember I said fiber, protein, fats. So that's how I try to eat. Now, I had somebody say, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm having a sandwich. What, do I got to tear the bread off? No, you guys don't do that. But if you're not, I'm going to encourage you to have less sandwiches, less bread. But I don't even know what I'm going to have for breakfast this morning. I don't know. Probably, I'm thinking of what, because I haven't thought anything out. I'm single, so I don't keep a lot thought out or it goes to waste. But I'll probably have some kind of protein. Probably, no, because I'm going to boil the eggs for tomorrow. I've got some chicken kebab. I'll probably have chicken kebabs and some green beans. I love green beans, guys. High in fiber, low in green beans. I love. They're just great, raw or cooked. So plate today is probably going to be the chicken skewers with some avocado for the fats, and then the green beans for some extra fiber. Now the fiber for me, Melba, and everybody else, I drink this beforehand because it gives me 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers. I know that it helps reduce my blood. Scientific studies. Go to science.com. Tons of studies on all of it, from places like the Cleveland Clinic, the top heart clinic in the world, the University of Sydney, the makers of the glycemic index. There's studies from all of those places about this stuff. Okay, so the supplements that I'm taking, Dina, they're just I have in the morning, and a pre-meal drink. Okay, a pre-meal drink that I before I eat anything. Those 2 things can be found at my my link right there, or on my profile here on TikTok. And it's simple. Look at, they both mix in water. This one I mix hot or cold. And if you want me to go over what these do, I will stay, because I'm having a good time this morning, guys. Day before Thanksgiving. I love hanging out with you. I love answering questions. You guys come for a second, because my soul gets up answering these questions. You guys have no idea how much joy I get answering questions, and hope somebody else gets their life changed by all of this. So thank you for giving me a platform to talk to y'all about. Okay. No oatmeal. Oatmeal is a little bit in fiber but high in carbohydrates. Just don't. There are studies coming out. I'll find some and do a video on it. The oatmeal, in Bickman, Dr. Fung will say no oatmeal for breakfast. No oatmeal for breakfast. Okay. And yes. Oh, you know what? Something else, Francis and everyone else, something else, food. All of you asked for some foods. Can we go over some foods that are going to help your insulin resistance? And then we'll dive back into questions, because I love this part. So some foods that are going to help your insulin resistance: red meat, shot, Dr. Bickman just tweeted a bunch about this, how there are new studies coming out that show that red meat actually helps your diabetes. Red meat helps your diabetes. Your diabetes is what's causing the heart problem. Red meat can help all of that. I'm not a big red meat eater, but I eat it when I can. Okay, so red meat. Salmon, of course we know salmon. Salmon at least 3 times a week. Thank you, Christina. She says, God bless you for sharing, and grass-fed. Absolutely. So, Allie, it's $5 a day. We're going to have that conversation in a second. And please understand this comes from my heart. I get excited, and sometimes I say things that are blunt and it offends people. Please don't take it offensive. It's just my fervor. Okay, so salmon, try to get salmon in 3 times a week. If you don't like salmon and you want to, then Dr. Lee says shrimp, so salmon or okay. And then I eat a lot of chicken. That's just my protein source, but beef and salmon are the ones that are best. Then there's a legume that is not widely talked about. So there's an interesting thing also going on in our bodies. We produce an enzyme called amylase. Amylase is made when we're eating to help break down sugar so that our body can utilize it. Kids, that's great. We need to get that energy to our body. We want it. But amylase also builds up in our system. So now we have a system that's trying to slow down the delivery of sugars, and we have an enzyme that's building up in our body that's breaking down the sugars even more rapidly. There's a food that you can take that help that slow down that amylase action in your body. Are you guys ready for this? And so I actually will probably have that for lunch today because I have a serving left sitting there. But it's navy beans, the little tiny white beans, not the great northern beans, not the red beans, not the black beans, not the navy beans have an amylase inhibitor in them naturally. Want to keep your blood sugars low and slow? Get in about a 1/4 cup of these navy beans 4 or 5 times a week. Okay, that will help. So then pears. When we talk about fruits, you guys most likely have heard about berries. Berries, navy beans, yes, the little tiny white ones that they make the soup out of. Those are the beans you want to get in about a 1/4 cup. I just have them plain with some salt and pepper. Love them that way. That's going to help inhibit that amylase that's breaking down sugars too quickly. Pears and berries. Berries are lower in sugar, higher in fiber. That's why they're always recommended. And plus, they're nutrient dense. But the one that Dr. Lee, who wrote this medicine, recommends even above berries is pears. They're high in fiber, low in sugar, nutrient dense, and they have this component in them that is also found in this tea called chlorogenic acids. The chlorogenic acids can cross the blood-brain barrier and help with normalizing function. So mood and better use of your serotonin and dopamine. Thank you, Cotton Candy. It's taken a while. You guys, please don't I just have been on. My son just messaged me about Snickers salad. What a way to stop my morning. And so my cue from him is that he wants Snickers salad. So yeah, sugar. So you know what I'm going to do tomorrow before we eat? I'm going to actually have 2 packets of this. But chlorogenic acids are great for mood and well-being, wellness score. So it helps with anxiety and depression. Pears are high in that, as well as being high in fiber and low in sugar. So pears, navy beans, salmon, shrimp. Yes, capers is one thing I've forgotten. So capers are really great for all of this as well. They're a little harder to find, but what I love to do is when I'm having salmon, I make like a lemon caper butter to go on the salmon. It will help it as well. Yes, coconut oil and MCT oil. I have them both in my cupboard. So I cook, no, oh, and yes, avocados. Thank you, Sola. Avocados are the other food that I would like you guys. I need to write that down and I should do a video on that today. But capers are great for you. I forgot avocados. So avocados are high in fiber, dense in nutrients, high in fats that you need. Avocado, avocado, avocado. Eat it all the time. eat it all the time. And you guys, I cheat because I'm a sissy. I never grew up with avocados. I don't like to cut them up. I do all that. So I buy the mashed avocado in the single serve cups. And you'll see me walking around my house. If I want something, sometimes I'll just grab an avocado cup, and and I was gonna say I'm a down to earth girl. I'll just eat it with my finger. Okay. Put a whole slab of butter on your veggies, please. But make sure you're using whole cream butter and not some margarine substitute or something that has the oils in it. Read your butter labels, because I found this year that they're labeling butter, but it still is just vegetable oils with enough of the milk fats in it to call it butter. Make sure that you're getting whole cream, okay? And yes, put butter, put coconut oil, do some of that on your veggies. Please do that. It's great for you. And yes, I have coconut oil. And I have it, I think I have like 3 jars of it around the house, because I also use coconut oil as medicine. But yes, I have MCT oils, and I will add the MCT oils. Sometimes I do shakes. Maybe that's what I'll have this morning. I created some shake recipes that are high in fiber or high in protein, high in fats, low in carbohydrates. And although I'm not a big proponent of shakes and smoothies, I've been loving them on days when I'm super busy. Makes it so easy, and they're delicious. So those recipes are coming out. But I'll add MCT oils to those. And trust me when I say these shakes are high in fat, they're nutrient dense, high in fat. And sometimes one of them has some avocado finish in it, and you'd be surprised, but it tastes amazing. Yep, coconut whole fruit. You guys, as long as don't get like the little flaked high sugared coconut, but if you can find real coconut flakes that have no additives to them, yes, do that. Now, do you guys understand coconut oil has a number of different molecules of fat in it? The medium chain triglycerides in coconut oil are only a small part of it. So this is where I'm going to encourage you. Use your coconut oil, but if you really are wanting to get to the MCTs, then use the MCT, because it's the derivative of the coconut oil that's only the medium chain triglycerides. You're getting the medium chain triglycerides without all the extra other things from coconut oil. So is homemade popcorn okay for a snack? I don't have popcorn a lot. I don't snack a lot. I've been probably snacking more than I should lately. But if you have to have a snack, I don't see why it would be bad, but I would try to limit those snacks. Again, you want to eat in an 8-hour window. If you're getting your popcorn in that 8-hour window, great. So there's that. Somebody, I just realized, you guys, I'm sorry. There's been a ton of questions. Somebody asked about type 1 diabetes. If you're still here, ask me the question again. I want to answer that for you. Okay, Lady D asked fiber, protein, fast. What about carbs? So this, guys, get the ebook. It's on my link as well. So yes, fiber first, and I do 10 minutes before I eat. Every time I eat this, the fiber I get has the fibers that are going to help my blood sugars, and it just makes it easy for me. Then I prioritize protein in all my meals. And now that I think about it, I'm probably just going to go make a shake because I don't feel like cooking. And then fats. So my protein shake is going to have the protein and the fats in it, and very low carbs. So you guys, it depends on what you want to do. If you really want to change your insulin resistance or really want to get your body reset, then you want to get your carbs as low as possible. If you're just wanting to get your health back and do something that's sustainable that you're not fall off of, try and keep your carbs below 100 carbs a day and then work with it from there. But if you really want to speed it up, then you're going to need to drop it to 30 to 20. But I never did. A lot of people do. I still got my health back. The shake, I don't know what I'm going to make this morning. I'm trying to think what I have left. So there'll be some whole cream in it. There'll be our protein powder in it, which is high in nutrients, really pure, really metabolically usable protein. There'll be probably a little bit of cream cheese in it, and maybe I'll do the mint one today. So some spinach and some avocado. a little bit of mint extract, and yeah, that's a mint shake this morning. Sounds good. So that's probably, but it's probably about 500 calories a shake, but it will have more than 30 grams of protein in it and a good amount of fat. Okay, so those shakes that I'm doing, everybody who's ordered from me on subscription will get those recipes for Christmas. Okay, so I'll send those out to you guys for Christmas. I'm working on wrapping that whole thing up over the next couple of weeks. So if you're ordering from me and you want those, you're going to get them if you're on subscription, okay? And they're tasty. I actually did not like shakes, but when I created these for this lifestyle, I was like, I really like them, and it makes it easier. There's a protein powder. Unicity has a number of products. So this is only some of the products that they offer. By the way, somebody asking about MCT oils. We actually have the tea that I drink in the morning. This is the tea with some MCT oils in it. This is a caramel flavor. I'm not a salted caramel flavor. I don't like it that sweet. I like sweet things, but not that sweet. Almost everybody else really loves this. There's another one that's plain without the salted caramel flavor in it, that with the MCTs. So you can actually get the same Unamate that I like with the MCTs already added in. This is thanks to Dr. Bickman. This product came about because Dr. Bickman was walking around the offices drinking this, putting his MCTs in it, and the other scientists said, "Why do you do that?" And so he gave him the answer, and then, this product was born. We also have matcha. You guys, for those of you here, also, a little hint. I'm going to be sending out anybody who ordered my ebook. You guys are going to get an email on Black Friday. Anybody who orders from me on subscription is going to get 5 of the matcha for free on me. This is actually also really great for your metabolism. It's a chai oka, a ceremonial grade matcha. We have this as well, you guys, and watch for that. There'll be posts on my page about how to get those 5 for free from me. So that's my Black Friday deal. So you either start a new subscription, switch yours to subscription, or refer someone and you'll get the 5. Those details will come out Friday morning, and they're also going to go out in an email. And I also thought about doing this one. So those of you guys who are on the live, if you want to try this, let me know. I'll switch this out for this. But this is our collagen. We do have a bio reishi tea, a coffee. So we have a reishi coffee. It has a little bit more sugars in it for taste. So I use that during my non-fasting window, during my fed window. We do have a reishi coffee. We also have, I don't know if we still have the Hawaiian Oni, which is I can't even remember why I got this. You guys, there's so many things. We have 18 natural products in the PDR. So yes, we have so much more than the Feel Great system. I know I don't often talk about it. We have a really great protein. We have all of these products. This collagen I mix up with my tea sometimes. So these two together, it kind of adds a berry flavor to this, and I'm getting my collagen in. I will add these two together a lot. This is like a green apple flavor, and this is kind of a lemony flavor. So I do mix this in more like 40 ounces of water. I call it a Una Matcha Bomb. It's amazing for energy and metabolism. Yeah, we have a ton of products out there besides the system. The system is the keystone because we're addressing metabolism, but some of the other products I do, because I know I don't eat enough vegetables, I do some of our super greens and our CoQ10, and I also do one called Bone Fortify that's a balanced magnesium, calcium, D3, and K2. I take it before bed at night because I have a mind that doesn't like to shut down, and that helps me sleep really soundly, and it's really good for my gut and my metabolism. So yeah, there's products. I would start with the system. If you're interested in the other things, ask me. I can help you with all of those things. So now while we're there at this point in the talk, I want you to understand, I said refer, right? So you guys can refer anybody anytime. I'm trying to think. I was going to do this for Black Friday. Okay, so I'll say this just for you guys today. Anybody who is already on the system and you're referring somebody between now and the end of Black Friday, I'll still give you either 5 of this or 5 of this. Refer 2 people and you can get them both. So the referral we have, when you order, you'll get your own link to refer people. The more of your friends and family that you help out, the more it helps out you. You'll get $10 product credit. So you refer 5 people and now that $5 a day becomes like $3 a day for the system. And you get that credit every single time they utilize the system. So it's not a one-time credit. The magnesium Petit Me it's freaking amazing. It also tastes like berries. So I put it in one of these bottles. I actually mix it, the magnesium and the super greens. It changes the color, but it doesn't really change the flavor. I put it in one of these bottles and then I top it off with ice and I take it when I go to bed and I sip on it till I go to sleep. And yeah, it's crazy good for metabolism, but also for sleep. Okay, we all are probably short on magnesium and D3. We are all probably short on that D3 because we just don't get outside and get sunlight enough. Okay, and they're both in that problem. I will open up the links to those on my Linktree page. But so the referrals, and I'm trying to decide when I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do it on this page, or if I'm going to do it on another page. But I'm also looking to build a team. Ollie's over in Australia. I've been working all week to make it so that I can set up and start talking to people. I want to get this around the world. I have people in UK, in Ireland, in the UAE, and Australia. I want to start getting people out there spreading the word like this and helping their friends. If you're interested in that and interested in helping the other side of my story, besides, I haven't told my story. Most of you guys here today haven't heard it. If you want to know my story, I'll tell you how much this system has changed my life and my health. But it also took me from where I was so broken down in my health and all I could do anymore was drive, Lyft, and Uber because I was in so much pain that I couldn't guarantee if I was going to be able to go into an office anymore. And my legs would give out because I'm tough in the mind, but my body would be like, screw you. So much pain, I'm done, and my legs would just fail from under me. Now that I've understood the system and I know how much it helps, both of my daughters are on it, 2 of my grandchildren are doing it, my whole family changing their health, but now I'm helping change the health of thousands of people worldwide, and I'm helping people do what I did. I have been able to extremely increase my income, which is how I was able to move from the West Coast to the East Coast and be with my grandson here. If you're interested in any of that, whether it's just some income on the side or full-time, let me know. I'm looking for people who want to change lives and help themselves along the way. So there's all of that. Now, I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. Okay. So sleep, yeah, Petit Me, I'll get that link up. We'll do that. And then any other questions you guys have, let me know. I think I'm about the end of my social battery. It's been 2 hours. And my social battery only lasts so long. So just so you know, you guys, I'm going to tell you, I'll be really vulnerable this morning. I love you all. I love being here serving. I love getting calls. I love calling people and having them tell me how much their life has changed. That fills my soul. That's part of the reason I do this. It's not just about money for me. It's like, I love your stories, but I'm also autistic, so this drains me. And so I will likely go sit down in about 45 minutes and curl up with a blanket and my tea and just unplug from everything so my battery can recharge, and then I'll be back at it. You guys, I love you. I love you all. I love that you want to know about your health and you're getting better. And I love all the questions and the interaction. And I appreciate each and every one of you. So with that, I'm going to hop off. I will be back tomorrow morning. I know it's Thanksgiving Day. I'll still be here at 8 o'clock in the morning before I head up to my kids' house. So if you have questions, if you have somebody who needs to hear this, please bring them along. Monday to Friday, 8 in the morning, I'm here to answer your questions and help out. Saturday and Sunday, put the electronics away and spend time with your family. Okay? I do. All right. We'll talk to you all later. Have a great day. Thank you, friends. Thanksgiving to you too. Hopefully we'll see you in the morning. All right? Good night, guys, or good day. It feels like night. We'll talk to you in the morning.